This interview is being conducted for the Veterans History Project for the Library of Congress. The veteran's name is Doug Hopkins. He was born on 4/23/20. He served in World War II. He achieved the rank of platoon sergeant. We're recording this on December 10th, 2012. I'm Will Hines, and I'm recording the interview. I'm Mr. Hopkins' great-nephew. So, Uncle Doug, could you tell us how you decided to enlist in your life before the war, and just kind of give us a background of that?
Okay, it was Pearl Harbor happened on December the 7th, 1941.
Which just happened 3 days ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was always a young patriot. And so shortly after that, I became interested in going into service. And so I went down and enlisted in the United States Marine Corps.
So where did you grow up? Where did you enlist?
I grew up in Greenville, in the San Souci area part of Greenville. And part of my early lifetime was spent over at York, South Carolina, in a little Episcopal church home in York. Because my father had passed away at an early age. And so I was spent time at York.
Didn't you play high school football over there?
I played high school football and baseball and played in the school band.
Oh wow! What instrument you play?
I first played the drums, and then the saxophone, and then the baritone horn.
Well, awesome.
Now, I wasn't a very good football player.
Well.
I was more or less a substitute.
Hey, doesn't matter. So, where did you enlist? What did you enlist in Greenville?
I enlisted in Greenville down at the old post office building on East Washington Street.
All right. Well, so where did you go after that? When you enlisted?
Soon after I enlisted, the Marine Corps wrote me a letter and telling me when and where to catch a bus, and so I did. And about 2 weeks after I enlisted, they had sent me a ticket from Greenville to Savannah, Georgia. So I got on the bus and headed to Savannah and met up with some other guys doing the same thing.
Were they from Greenville?
One or two were from Greenville, the others were from other parts of the state.
So did you know any of them beforehand? Or
I did not know any of them before.
So you drove to Savannah, and then you drove to Savannah on the bus, is that what you said?
To Savannah, so I assumed that when we got to Savannah we would get on another bus and go right up to Parris Island for recruit. But that wasn't the case. Parris Island was loaded with people, and so we were sent to San Diego, California for recruit training.
So did you fly there, or did you train?
They put us on a train, a 4-day trip from Savannah to San Diego.
Oh wow. So this was in, what month was this? August 1942?
1942, yes sir.
So you get to San Diego, and you start training there, you go through basic training, and what happened there?
Well, first, when we went from the train to the recruit depot there was some Marines met us on the way hollering, "You'll be sorry." And we, of course, I guess we were.
Yeah. So, where did you do basic?
We took basic training, a boot camp as we called it, in San Diego at the Marine Recruit Depot.
Marine Recruit Depot. And how long did your training last?
12 weeks.
12 weeks. Was it tough? How was the physical part of it?
Very tough, and boot camp is what it is, of course. A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
It's mostly teaching understanding and that kind of thing.
Discipline.
Take orders and.
Yeah. So when did you? So you graduated boot camp.
Well, we did, and then we sent up to Camp Pendleton for some further training. Camp Pendleton is, I guess, 100 miles up the road from San Diego or something like that. So we stayed there. And
so what specifically did y'all train in? Did y'all start shooting weapons and?
Oh yes, well, we were various types of training. We defense training and of course rifle range and pistol range and bayonet training and mostly all physical things such as that.
Now, what did y'all do in bayonet training? Because I've seen the fake dummies, and
Yeah.
so you would.
Yeah.
What kind of things would y'all do? Would you bayonet them and then run around and?
We learned ways to do that and
Mm-hmm.
to swing our rifles and
Swing the butt of the rifle.
yeah, yes, yeah.
Wow.
You apparently have heard that before.
Yes, sir. I have. So after you finished that training, where did you go?
Well, in January 1943, they put us on a troop ship headed out in the Pacific. And so we sailed away in the Pacific, and without any kind of military accompaniment, just the troop ship by itself.
That's kind of dangerous.
And we didn't know where we were going, of course, and the first stop was New Caledonia, a little city of Noumea, New Caledonia, way down in the Pacific, South Pacific. And we were there for just a few weeks, couple of weeks, awaiting assignment to another part. And so we were, when we left New Caledonia, we on another ship headed to New Zealand.
New Zealand. So you went to New Zealand for a while?
We went to New Zealand, I think it was 5 months, where the 2nd Marine Division was formed. And went through a lot of extensive training there in New Zealand. And then began our trip up the Pacific in Gondar.
Okay. So where did you go after New Zealand?
New Zealand, we went to boarded ship, and I think, I'm not sure when it was, early fall of 1943. And went to our first combat was Tarawa, and November the 20th, 1943.
That's some rough first combat right there.
It was awful.
Yeah.
And, we lost, I think this figure said 1,192 people on the first day at Tarawa.
So
that included some sailors.
What wave did you come in on?
On the second wave.
On the second wave?
Yeah.
And didn't your boat take a direct hit?
There was a coral reef that surrounded Tarawa that apparently had been overlooked when they were planning for the invasion. But anyhow, we got caught on that reef.
Because we came in at low tide and we got caught on it.
And could not get across it. And so the Japanese just took dead aim at us from their places on Tarawa there, and machine guns and artillery guns also. It seemed like I thought, and I've heard of it, it's just sitting there like sitting ducks. They're popping it to us.
So your boat took a direct hit, and you were...
It did, and I was thrown into the water, and the spot I landed was estimated later to be about 10 feet deep. And so I had all this equipment that I had to release. Or I'd drown, I thought, and I'm pretty sure it would have been. So I did. I lost everything I had right there. And,
how many men were in your boat whenever you first got in?
42.
And do you know how many y'all lost in that
I
boat?
lost 11. It never came back.
So you were thrown in the water, and you you dropped all your equipment, and you swam up to the top.
And I did, and it was a long pier that shut it out in the water, and as many of us as could swam to that pier to get under there, and for more reasons than one, I guess, and finally made our way to the beach, and was able to secure
So you swam underneath the pier to the beach, and then you got on the beach and got a rifle. But where did you go after that? To the seawall, or?
Yes, there was a seawall about 3 feet high. The Japanese had built, and so of course we were using that for protection at that time.
Now, were there many bunkers right off the beach, or did they wait for you to come inland?
The bunkers were, Tarawa was not a huge place.
Right.
And so they were just, I remember it was 5 miles long and 2 miles wide. Something close to that, I think. And the bunkers were steel and concrete and located in several places on the island. And our air bombers had not been able to take out those. They were still very active.
So had the first wave gone inland, or were they all up against the seawall as well?
Well, it was scattered about, and because of the fact that we were not able to get in like we were supposed to because of that reef and the tide, our people were scattered, maybe not with their companies. They were just kind of lone ranger resident at first.
So how did y'all go about destroying the bunkers?
I don't remember that.
You know, did they have any tanks? Did they have any light tanks?
Know about, no.
No light tanks. So,
they had been on Tarawa for quite a while, the Japanese military, and had it well planned out for defense. And
was there a lot of barbed wire and?
Yes, and we of course took a hard beating in securing that island, and lost a lot of people.
So near the end of the first day, where were you?
Near the end of the first day, I was in a bomb crater, looking for the rest of my platoon and company, which I didn't find till the next day. But
were you kind of off the beach a little bit, or were you?
Yes, I was in a bomb crater on inland little piece, and everybody was on their own. Nobody was encouraging us to do things. We were just all doing whatever we could. And the main, I suppose the main reason for wanting that island was an airstrip.
Right.
And it had a nice airstrip, but not a deep harbor.
So, on the second day, you met up with your.
On the second day I did. I located my platoon sergeant and some of the other guys in my platoon and company, and we kind of gathered and began to be a little bit more organized.
And when did y'all take the airfield?
That was another part of the division. I was not near the airfield.
Okay.
I do not know for sure.
So how many days did you spend in combat on the island?
4 days.
4 days. Wow.
And on the 4th day we raised our flag.
Where did you raise it? On the airfield, or was it kind of off?
No, there was more or less not a city, but a little part of the island that had been turned into a little mall-like affair. And I don't mean that to be a modern mall.
Right.
And we raised our flag where I suppose another flag had been.
Now, did y'all have many problems with snipers, Japanese snipers on the island?
So what?
Snipers, Japanese snipers.
Oh yes. Every day, 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
They, of course, we eventually had forced them to one end of the island, and we were catching rifle fire, machine gun fire, and mortar fire.
Now, did many of them commit suicide, or did they bonsai charge you?
Not that I'm aware of, not at Tarawa. Now It could have been. I did not hear or know about it.
Right.
Until later in the war.
Did they bonsai charge you at the last minute when they were when they were on their side of the island, or do you know if they surrendered?
They did on the third night, I think it was. They attempted a bonsai charge.
And did you face that night, or were you?
We did, and we fought for half the night. You know what we call a firefight.
Mm-hmm.
And finally subdued them.
So you wake up, were you asleep when it started?
No sleep.
No sleep. So how long did you go without sleep, or did you catch a 30-minute nap here or there?
We finally got where we could, after some of my platoon and company were together, we figured out a way to take short naps during the night.
So, do you know, was it pitch black dark when they charged at night on the third night?
More or less like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Yes,
how did you see them? Did you not see them? Did you just shoot, or did you?
Well,
You have flares.
we had the battleships that were docked off there. Would shoot those large flares for us, and it was very helpful.
Yeah. Well, so you repulsed the charge, and the fourth day came, and you got off the island, or how long did you stay on the island after?
We didn't stay on the island after the battle was over.
After the battle was over.
We left, I'm thinking, the next day.
So,
that don't mean that everybody left.
Right.
My company left.
So they probably started repairing the airfield and getting that operational. So where did you go after that?
From there we went to the big island of Hawaii.
And you get some rest?
Yeah, they took us way back on the island to what had once before been a ranch. Parker Ranch, I think it was. And we were there a few months for training and getting in replacements and that kind of thing.
How many men did your company lose?
How many?
Or battalion? How many men did your battalion lose? Men, soldiers?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Oh, how many soldiers did your battalion lose? How many were killed?
I don't know for sure.
You don't know for sure?
No, I do not know that.
So you rested up in Honolulu or Hawaii for a couple of months, and then
we weren't in Honolulu. We were on the Big Island, the island of Hawaii, and it's a big island by itself. That's what they call it, the Big Island.
Oh, so where did you go after that?
Well, after we left there, we went to Saipan, and June the 14th, 1944. Well, pretty close to the same time that D-Day took place in Europe.
And what wave were you on? Were you in an attacking wave?
First wave on Saipan, and it wasn't as bad as, at least the first day wasn't as bad as Tarawa. We were able to get on the beach and move inland. And then the Japanese picked us up with their mortars and artillery.
And were they dug in off the beach, obviously, if you were able to go inland?
Yes, we did. The first night, I guess, on Saipan, we were half a mile inland and nighttime came.
How many days did Saipan last?
It was weeks, not days.
Weeks, wow. How big was Saipan? Because how much bigger was it?
20 miles long, something.
So it was a lot bigger than
Yeah,
Tarawa.
It's a nice size. I've been going to say they said it was 19 miles long and 6 miles wide.
Wow.
It was not a perfect width or anything, but that's what we were told.
So was there also an airfield on that island?
There was. A Salito airfield. And it was apparently very valuable because later on the B-29s used that airfield.
Wow. So How many Japanese soldiers were on that island? Do you have any idea?
No, sir, I don't.
How was the fighting? Was it more brutal?
Well, it was the 3 divisions involved: 2nd Marine Division, the 4th Marine Division, and the 27th Army Division. And the 2nd Marine Division, of which I was a part, was assigned to cut the island in half. The 27th Army Division was assigned the airport, and the 4th Marine Division was assigned the harbor and the city. We were all to go in and then turn north, which we did.
Were there a lot of locals on the island?
Yeah.
I bet that was pretty tough, having to...
Yeah, well, we didn't see any of them for a couple of days, and we began to see some of them in various stages and places.
So how many weeks did it take you to secure the island?
4 or 5 weeks we were.
Wow.
Before we were able to secure the entire island. And in the center of Saipan is a mountain that, if you can imagine Paris Mountain, in the distance it looked like Paris Mountain. It ran up the center of the island, and part of my division was assigned to that mountain going from south to north.
So you were assigned to take that mountain?
Yeah.
And was this when you got the shrapnel in the side off the grenade?
Yeah, on the slopes of that mountain.
So you were going up the mountain and a Japanese soldier rolled a grenade down?
I saw it, and it was spewing, and I thought about our own grenades would spew for 7 seconds. So I didn't know what my chances were, so I just threw my arms up and dived towards the ground, and it caught me in my...
Did it explode? Do you have any idea if it exploded while you were on the ground or when you were in the air?
I think it exploded as I was
in the air,
falling down. Yeah.
Well, at least you got down in time.
I did, yeah. And
what kind of wounds did you experience on the dog?
well, shrapnel wounds, you know, grenades have little serrations when they explode. Pieces of shrapnel like an inch long, that kind of thing, and smaller. And they'd removed 7 pieces from my chest side of me and under my arm. They sent me out to a hospital ship that was docked out, and I was out there a couple of days and right back.
Wow.
Well, you know, it was wartime conditions.
They needed you.
They needed everybody that was available, but I made it all right. That time they had sulfur drugs and that kind of thing that prevented any further damage. At least I thought, and I thought so.
I know it's kind of hard to gauge this, but how bad did it hurt whenever you took the shrapnel?
Bad.
It hurt pretty bad?
Yeah. Bad.
Yeah. Did it hurt to breathe?
Fortunate that I don't know. It didn't cut into my bones, you know.
Wow.
Later on, I did have a piece of shrapnel in my leg that was stuck in the bone. That was at another place that happened at Okinawa.
I'm sure we'll get to that. So, you went on the hospital boat, and where did they take you from there, or did you just stay on the ship for a while?
No, I was just there a few days and then back to my company on Saipan.
Back to your company after a few days of healing?
Yeah, you know, that's just the way it was. It was combat, hard war combat.
Did that limit you at all with what you could do? And
not really. We were. Some days, you know, weren't bad, and some days were awful. And, just depended on what happened as you went on. We moved. Our motto was keep moving. We moved every day forward, and some days couldn't get a mile because of resistance and terrain situation and that kind of thing. And some days we get a couple of miles maybe. So it's just hand combat, ground combat war, and it's just tough every day.
Now, did y'all have any tank support on Saipan?
Later on we did, yes. And the Japanese had what we were referred to as light tanks.
Light tanks.
And they did not have, from what we observed, an abundant supply of them. Or if they did have them, they'd been taken out, most of them, by either our airplanes or something like that.
So how did y'all infantrymen take out light tanks? Would you run up and throw a grenade in, or?
We did that, and then we had some anti-tank guns along with us, and some of our tanks. We maybe had one tank to accompany moving with us.
So, did you ever have to run up and throw a grenade into one?
I did not, no, sir.
That would be scary. Whew.
Yeah.
How was being in combat? Was it fearful, or did you just not think? Did you just shoot
Combat,
and do?
yeah, it's fearful, and one thing that since the war that I've come to recall is that one person is just as fearful as the one next to you. Everybody was in the same situation, you know. A brave man was scared too. It's combat is awful.
Yes, sir.
And so we just all were stuck together and fought hard.
Yes, sir.
We had been trained to do most all that we did, and we kind of knew how to handle each situation.
So,
Doug, I've seen it on the movies before. When you're being shot at, do you hear the bullets whistling by?
Occasionally, yes. Yes. From machine guns especially. And now, the Japanese use a lot of what we call mortars, 90mm mortars, which shoots a big shell, and they made a whistling sound when they were coming in. I never asked why. It really didn't matter. I heard it.
Right.
Saipan was a long, tough battle, and I'm thinking a month or something like that, and then we, of course, had to clean up the whole island from soldiers of Japanese military that was still hiding out. And Saipan was a very important, turned out to be a very important part of the war.
now did you have to go in a lot of caves?
Yes, we did. Now, I wasn't going to talk about flamethrowers. I thought it was awful.
Right.
But we did use flamethrowers to shoot in caves and that kind of thing.
Well, it had to be done, or y'all would have been killed.
We did, and some of our tanks were equipped with
Flamethrowers,
and they could shoot it way out. And it was always a comfort to know that they could, and they did.
Yes, sir. Now, did you individually ever go in caves?
Yes, one time.
And how was that?
And well, we knew the Japanese were in this cave on the side of a hill, and my sergeant asked me to go up and put a hand grenade in, which I did. I just entered the hole in the cave, and nobody fired at me, so I just released a couple of hand grenades, and I think the Japanese either were taken out by those grenades or had already been. I don't. Some things you never know.
Right.
And so that was we were able to move on then.
Wow. What were you gonna ask, Dad?
Did you have any friends that you, or anybody that you befriended from the start when you first left the United States that traveled with you?
Yes, I did. 2 or 3 situations like that, and one guy was from North Carolina, Cletus J. Bailey, and he and I became friends. We went through boot camp together.
What's his name?
Cletus Bailey.
Cletus Bailey.
And he was from Rock Hill, South Carolina. And he and I talked on the phone a lot of times after the war.
Is that right?
Yes, and then there was a young fellow from Raleigh, North Carolina, and we went through boot camp and then was together out in the Pacific for a long time. And Bailey and this man I'm speaking about, his last name was King, I don't remember. We all were together from the beginning till the war ended.
Really?
Wow.
And all 3 of you survived?
Yes, and I was the smartest one of the 3.
Why is that?
I ended up with a little more rank than this.
All right.
Not because of anything I'd done, but because of attrition, I guess, or whatever. and they were good men.
That's good.
Yeah.
And Bailey has gone on to heaven. He passed away. Well, it's been 3 or 4 years ago now, but you know, I used to talk once a week.
Oh, great.
He just couldn't stand it if I didn't call him. And
Do you still call you Sergeant?
well, I don't remember. Hoppy, everybody called me Hoppy, and
Hoppy?
so
Yeah. How about King, Mr. King? Did he?
I didn't, never did talk with him. We went through boot camp together, and were discharged at the same day up at Camp Lejeune, but I don't know. We didn't keep in touch with each other.
That's good. You made those friendships.
Yeah, and one other guy, Nick Artino from Cleveland, Ohio, he was with us, and after the war, he wrote to me a good bit and called a couple of times, and we talked. He got married real quick and had 4 babies.
Making up for lost time.
Yeah, he did. And,
Now, how about you and Aunt Sadie? I know we got still along with his career, but were you married before you enlisted?
no, Sadie and I met up. I came home, I think it was on Thanksgiving Day, 1945, and a couple of weeks later I met Sadie.
Did you really?
And I guess you could say we liked each other, and we dated for a long time.
So after the war was over and you came home, were you out of the military at that point?
Yes.
You had done your duty and served
Yeah,
your
that
time?
was the plan, was to discharge everybody they could. And, they gave us all an opportunity to re-enlist if we wanted to, and encouraged it. But I was ready to get out.
Yes, sir.
Now, the military wasn't hard for me. Combat was awful, but being part of the military was easy for me for some reason.
Is that right?
And I just took to it very easily. My company commander, a gentleman named John Adrian, was interested in having me go to Quantico and become an officer, and made arrangements for that to happen, but I never did get to do it because of various things.
Well, obviously you did well because you got the medals and the awards.
Well, these medals, some of these medals now, there's just something that everybody had. Everybody got one, you know.
How about that right there? Did everybody get one of those? See it?
I don't think so.
That's the Purple Heart.
Yeah.
And you got 2 of them, so.
Yes, sir.
So, kind of want to get back to your story. So you leave Saipan, and where you go from there?
Hawaii.
Oh yeah, Hawaii.
Big
Yeah.
island of Hawaii.
Big island. And from Hawaii, did you say you went to Okinawa?
Now, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Oh.
We left Tarawa and
Mhm.
went to Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
And then from Hawaii, we went to Saipan.
Mhm.
And from then on, Saipan was 2nd Marine Division headquarters.
Hmm.
We left there and went to Tinian and fought that battle, and then went back to Saipan. And there's 3 islands that form the Marianas of Saipan, Tinian, and Guam, all together within 100 miles of each other. And so we stayed at Saipan. We had tent camp, you know.
Right. So what happened at Tinian? I haven't really heard much about the battle.
Where?
Did you say Tinian?
Tinian, T-I-N-I-A-N, Tinian. Tinian was not quite as bad as Saipan, but because of the civilian population. I think I always felt like that the civilians from Saipan before the invasion, most of them that could went to Tinian. They realized, I suppose, that what was going to happen. But there were a lot of civilians on Tinian, and but there was a heavy battle there, but it's not quite as big as Saipan. And that thing. So we went to Tinian and later back to Saipan and to the division headquarters.
So at Tinian, did y'all have another assault from the sea, basically, and Higgins boats or wherever y'all?
Yeah, that's the way we did, yes. But there wasn't as much a battle as Saipan was.
How long did Tinian last?
A couple of weeks maybe.
A couple of weeks. So.
And then, now I mentioned Guam. Guam was within 100 miles of Saipan and Tinian were within sight of each other. And Guam was part of that group, Marianas Island. It was 100 miles away. And another Marine division was involved at Guam.
While y'all were fighting at Tinian?
Yes.
Okay. So you went back to Saipan after Tinian.
Yes.
And how long did you stay in Saipan again?
Let's see, that would have been the fall of 44. We were there until early spring of 1945 when we went to Okinawa. Easter Sunday morning, 1945, April the 1st.
Now, I know Okinawa was a big naval battle as well, along with aircraft carriers and airplanes. But
yeah.
what did y'all do when your invasion happened?
We went in there and took it away from the Japanese military.
Good.
Okinawa was a big place.
How many divisions were involved in that invasion?
Excuse me.
Yeah, that's fine.
Hello. All about doctor's appointments now.
Oh, yes, sir. That guy will. That assistant defensive coordinator's leaving.
So, I don't remember where we were. Oh yeah, you landed on Okinawa.
We did. You asked how many divisions. Three Marine divisions, and I'm not sure
How many Army?
how many Army divisions were involved. A lot. I would say 5 or 6.
So what kind of happened on that battle? You landed on day 1, and was there much conflict on the beach?
No, the Japanese military decided to use a different strategy than they had been doing at the other. So they just let us come on in, and at least my part of it, they didn't try to keep us from landing on the beach. And so we cut it in half pretty quick in a few days, which was our objective. And so 2 or 3 divisions turned south and 2 or 3 turned north. I say 2 or 3 because I really don't know how many. I know there's more than 1 or 2. But we made it ashore without any problems, and I don't know if they changed their strategy a little later or not, but
How big was the island?
it's huge.
Yeah, I know it was.
I really don't know.
Oh, it was
Of course, it's
a lot. Pretty
part of Japan now, and it is a very, very large island.
Now I know on this island you saw a kamikaze attack.
Yeah, off to that was the Navy, and at night we could see the Navy battles going on. And we left, some of us, not all of us, left Okinawa and went to a little island between there and Japan called Hiroshima. And we were assigned to go take it, and it was not heavily defended, and we were able to take it in a few days. And we stayed on there a couple of days, and at night we could see back towards Okinawa, we could see the kamikaze attacks, because they were using I forget what they call those bullets.
Tracer bullets? Tracers?
Yeah, tracers. A lot of it was tracers, and we could see that.
Now, did you see any direct hits? I bet that was.
I really couldn't say. I don't. We saw a lot of confusion, but we didn't know what it was.
Right.
And it was probably what the.
It just looked like a bunch of fireworks.
Yeah.
So so you were wounded on Okinawa. What happened with that?
Late in the campaign, we were close to near the end of the campaign, within a few days, I guess. And we're on I guess you'd call it a hill or a ridge or something, and the Japanese were firing artillery and mortars on us. And a piece of shrapnel hit me in the lower left leg right there, and it's stuck in the, looked like a piece about 2 inches long.
Oh, wow.
And I was able to get that taken care of, and without going to a big hospital somewhere,
Oof.
And I might add that that same day, maybe not at that exact time, but there was the highest ranking general that we knew about was killed right there, close by where we were.
Wow.
An army general had come up to observe, was over on a hill not far from where we could see him. Simon Bolivar Buckner, a lieutenant general,
Wow.
was hit with a Japanese artillery airburst. They could set their
Fuses.
timing to burst into air,
Yeah.
and so he was killed.
Wow.
And
So.
but Okinawa was a long, drawn-out affair, and it was a big island, and a lot of Japanese military and ours were involved in it, and Navy and Army and Marine Corps and Air Force, and it was a big-time combat.
So was that your last major combat? Okinawa?
Yes, it was.
So where did you go after Okinawa?
I went back to Saipan.
Back to Saipan again.
Back to Saipan. And then, now I'm not sure about this, but in between Saipan and Okinawa, I think was Iwo Jima. Now I was not. We were aboard ship and standing by, but we never went in at Iwo Jima.
Thank goodness.
It was, of course, a tough battle, and it wasn't. We had 3 Marine divisions involved, about 35,000 Marines.
Wow.
And of course, Iwo Jima got a lot of publicity because it was kind of by itself at that time, but it was carried out pretty smoothly.
It was a small island, wasn't it? It was smaller.
Yes, not
35,000 people.
It was bigger than Tarawa, but I think not as big as Saipan.
Uncle Doug, when you're on the ship and Iwo Jima battles are going on, what was the attitude of the soldiers on the ship? Were they chomping at the bit to get into Iwo Jima, or was the attitude of, I hope they don't call us?
More or less that.
You'd rather be safe at that time.
You have a strange feeling, you know. Well, we're going to have to go in or we're not. We didn't have any way of knowing any previous knowledge of any kind. We were just waiting to hear what we were going to do.
Yes, sir.
We get each day, the Navy would pass out a little yellow sheet of typewritten information telling about what was going on at other places, and we were able to keep up with the battle through that. Well, that's about all we knew. We were just there waiting, go or not go, and we didn't, so we went back to Saipan.
Were the ships manned by the Navy?
Yes.
And y'all were just residents on that ship?
We were visitors.
Gotcha.
And you were on a transport ship, troop transport?
Yes, and
now, how heavily gunned were they? Were they heavily armed, or
no,
just a
no,
lot
no
of
arms at all that I recall. It might have been a machine gun somewhere on the upper, but I don't think so.
Now, how was the food on the ship?
Food was decent, you know.
Decent enough.
Just Navy food. Hash about every third day. That kind of thing. It was just Navy food. I don't remember a whole lot about the details of it.
How were now? Y'all were given K rations, right, for when you went into battle?
Yeah.
And
C rations and K rations.
now, what did that consist of? Was it crackers or what?
C rations were in a can, a tin can. There'd be one can of, for instance, some kind of hash or something like that, and then a can of beans. They went together. That's all there was to C ration. Two cans of something like that. And K rations came in a box, cardboard box, and it was more like crackers and cheese and crackers and something else, and then a package of 3 cigarettes and that kind of thing in K rations. And there was some food, but it was just not much of really food. But I was always glad to get it.
Yes, sir. How much did your equipment weigh that you carried in the battle? Do you have any idea how much it weighed?
No, I don't. We had a cartridge belt, of course, full of 8 clips in each clip, 8 bullets in each clip. And
I haven't even talked to you about your weapon. You carried an M1 Garand, right?
yeah.
Did you carry a carbine or just regular?
Later on, I had a carbine and the same type of ammunition. And in the little pockets on the cartridge belt, that you put one cartridge in each little pocket.
Now, did one cartridge consist of 8 bullets?
8 bullets, yeah.
8 bullets. Wow.
And then, of course, we had our gas mask and our canteen cup, backpack with whatever you wanted to put in it, and a blanket roll, and a helmet,
shovel
or pick, each other.
It varied.
One guy had a pick on the back, and the next guy a shovel, so that at night, if there was an opportunity to dig in, you'd have 2 guys, one with a pick and one with a shovel.
Okay. Wow. Did you ever take any souvenirs home from the war?
Take what?
Any souvenirs anything off the battlefield? Did you take anything home?
The only thing after the war, I recall having some little Japanese coins and a couple of some kind of paper money. I don't remember where it come from or what in the world ever happened to it. That's all I had.
Yes, sir.
Some of the guys did other things and had different kind of souvenirs.
I know a lot of them took back samurai swords or pistols or whatever they got off of the Japanese soldiers as souvenirs.
I knew one guy that had a saber, and he valued that very much. And usually, from what we observed, those sabers were carried by their higher ranking officers. So it meant a lot, you know, to have one of them.
Right. So, you went from Okinawa back to Saipan after?
Yes.
And then where'd you go from Saipan? Because that was your last major battle, right?
Well, no, Saipan, the battle was all over with.
Oh, Okinawa was your last major battle.
Yeah.
And so, where did you go after Okinawa?
We went back to Saipan. Our division headquarters was on Saipan. So we were just back there in camp and training and getting ready to go somewhere else. And so I was a platoon sergeant at that time, and I received instructions about what was next. And, of course, I guess it's well known now that we were all set up to invade Japan. And they gave me a classified sheet of information about where and when and what. And so I knew what was going to take place. And everybody didn't know that, but some of us that was going to have to deal with it.
That would have been horrible. That would have been the bloodiest battle of the war, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. So then came the bomb. And those B-29s that I said a while ago that were able to land and take off from Saipan.
So they did take off from Saipan?
They did.
Were you on the island whenever they...
Saipan, Tinian, and Guam.
Were you on the island when they took off?
Yes. They went every day. And when early in the morning we could see them and hear them, and they'd come back in the afternoon, late in the afternoon, after flying to Japan and back. And we didn't know the results of their action, but we knew that there was always maybe one or two missing. We count them in the mornings, just out of habit. We'd talk in the afternoon when we'd see them come back.
Yeah.
But that bomb we never did know, and I don't think anybody knows yet, maybe, except the ones that were involved. Those atomic bombs, we either flew from Guam or Tinian or Saipan.
I don't know.
We all claimed they flew from Saipan, but we didn't know that for sure.
I'd claim it.
And but Tinian had a nice airport, and of course Guam did too. And so there was a lot of beginning of Japan's downfall started from those airports.
Yes, sir.
Tinian, Guam, and Saipan.
So when were you discharged?
Well, the war ended in August 1945, and I was still at Saipan. And then later on, I don't know how they determined who, but I was in a group that left Saipan and aboard ship and came to the States and was discharged in November 1945.
Now, didn't you introduce one of your friends who married your sister, or what happened with that? Would you mind telling that story? I don't really remember.
That was pretty early in the war. He had been to Guadalcanal, and was at the New Caledonia waiting for transportation. He had been wounded in the foot. He was waiting for transportation to the States, and I was waiting for assignment in New Caledonia. And later was assigned to the 2nd Marine Division. But anyhow, it was a guy I knew from Greenville. And I had played a little baseball together and that kind of thing, and worked together. But he decided that if I would like for him to, he would take a message to my mother for me. So I wrote out a little note to my mom and gave it to him, and he left. And when he got back to the States, he got cold feet about, they were pretty strict about
communication.
Yeah. So he decided not to, he just tore it up and decided to go by and see my mom. And he did. He came to Greenville, and on the way to Parris Island, he stopped off in Greenville, and when he went to my mother's place where she lived, he met my sister, and they liked each other, and finally ended up, they married, and had 2 boys.
Wow.
And he was a good man, and he became a drill instructor at Parris Island. And they lived in Beaufort for quite a while.
Wow.
And he's gone on to heaven now too. But he was a good man. Brian Hart was his name.
So, Dad, do you have any more questions? Or?
No, I've been enlightened and enthralled. I appreciate what you did for our country.
Thank you. I'm a patriot.
Yes, sir, you are.
I'm a hardcore patriot. I just am. I was proud to be a United States Marine.
Once a Marine, always a Marine, right?
Yes, sir. I've lost contact with in recent years with all my friends that we kind of hung together for a while after the war.
Right.
Correspondence and on the phone. And one guy, we came to visit me, but otherwise we just talked or wrote to each other. We all had families and responsibilities, I guess.
What is it that the Marines say? Hoorah?
Hoorah, hoorah,
Hoorah.
ooh,
Ooh.
double O, hoorah. Now I don't know the details of that. Why?
But you said it.
But it said it, hoorah.
Yes, sir.
But our, I guess, a combat expression throughout the Marine Corps was keep moving.
Keep moving.
Yeah, and we just, encouraged each other by saying that.
That's what you did, isn't it?
And we did, and best of our ability to keep moving. And we were dead still on Tarawa for several hours. We could not advance just because of the heavy fire, but we finally did, and the rest of the war. But for us, Tarawa was the beginning. The 1st Marine Division had been involved at Guadalcanal, but that was over and done at the time we started it. And the war ended with there was 6 Marine divisions, and something like 12,000 in each division.
Wow.
That's somewhere near that figure.
Yes, sir.
And so that would have been probably 75,000 Marines. That does not include any Air Force Marine. There were a lot of those.
You talking about when the war started or when it ended? There were 75,000.
When it ended, at the end of the war.
I wonder how many casualties there were.
When the war first began, there was only 1 division.
Oh, so they kept adding.
I think in terms of the Marine Corps, I don't know anything about the Army.
Right.
So when I say there was one division, one Marine division,
Yes, sir.
and then we formed the 2nd Marine Division in New Zealand, and went from there, and then they had 4 more divisions that were involved later on, so it's a total of 6.
Gotcha.
Well, thank you so much, Uncle Doug, for the interview.
You're welcome, sir.